Yeah.
It's because the recording started and it's not privacy.
After waiting, so after waiting, fucking.
And I do it again. I'm talking about in chasing. I'm really actually extension.
I have to speak to John about that, John, if it's.
The 2 dates that clash over here.
Aye. But
Okay.
So what is it to do now? To take set? Oh,
It's gonna accept the privacy, it's gonna accept the privacy law. And then what things that.
it doesn't make to do.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was muted. I was muted when I tried to come in there. Right, okay. Did we do the introductions, please?
Yep, so we have got apologies from Councillor McCluckie, Councillor Keogh and Councillor Benny.
Okay, thank you. And I see we just quoted. Thank you very much, Donald, for coming in. Okay. 1 second. What do you think? Yeah. Are there any declarations of interest? I see no declarations of interest. First item on the agenda is the Chief Constable's report to the licensing board. I believe we've got Sergeant Bellingham.
Councillor, do you want me, I've got the script in front of me, do you want me to?
Yes, please. Let's go back to that one. Let's carry out and do the thing properly.
Alright. Good morning, everyone. All visitors must sign into the visitor book at the entrance to Kilncraigs. This includes council staff and other buildings. There is no planned fire evacuation drill or alarm test today. If the fire alarm is activated during your visit, you must exit the building immediately. The council will direct you to the nearest fire exit and will escort visitors to the building fire assembly point beside the Silver Man at the top of Parliament Walk. Kilncraig staff report to their floor's assembly point. You should remain at your assembly point until directed to reoccupy the building and only re-enter once the fire marshal has advised it is safe to do so. Please do not attempt to leave the site by vehicle until cleared to do so by the fire marshal to ensure access routes are kept clear for emergency vehicles. Please note this is a public meeting and the members of the public may be in attendance. The meeting will be recorded by the clerk and published online for public viewing. The taking of photographs, including screenshots, audio or video recordings, are not permitted during meetings unless with the express permission of the chair. The members attend virtually activate their cameras where possible to enable you to join by video, and can all attendees mute their microphones when not speaking. Please do not come in during items unless the chair invites you to do so. If members attending virtually wish to speak at any point, please indicate by clicking the raise your hand button. Members in the chamber should also raise their hand. Chair will bring you in an appropriate time. Members have not been able to access all papers for the meeting, please indicate.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Councillor, do you want to discuss the minutes?
I was just going to say that I omitted to go to the minutes, so we'll go to the minutes. The minutes in page 5, I believe. Yeah, page 5, page 6, page 7. Is that a true and accurate record for those who were at the meeting?
Agreed.
Yep, and I agree as well. Oh, sorry, page 8. I should have said page 8. I'm not reading it properly this morning. Okay, page 9 is the first item on the agenda, which is the Chief Constable's report.
Thank you, Chair, Your Honours. Sergeant David Bellingham from the Licence Department, Forth Valley Division, Police Service of Scotland. First of all, I'm going to start off with an apology to you for it's December and this is the Chief Constable report just getting heard this morning. I had an unfortunate period of absence, September through October. At the time when this report had come back to the Fair Policy Unit, and by the time I came back, etc., that's the reason for it being late. So I think it's only right to apologise for the late submission or the late hearing of this morning. Before I hand over, I've got with me this morning Chief Inspector Gary Smith, who is the local area commander for Clackmannanshire. You'll see in the report it is listed as Chief Inspector Katrina Thompson. After the submission of this report, there's a change in the area command structure within the area. So Chief Inspector Smith is with me this morning, who I'll hand over to just shortly to obviously summarise the report, which you'll have seen already. I think it's important before I hand over to acknowledge the support from the board towards Police Scotland over this reporting period. And also what I think is quite important to acknowledge and for the board to acknowledge is the support that we get from the licensing department within Clackmannanshire Council. Obviously Sean and Leslie Ann, and the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes. And that leads me on to obviously your licensing standards officer, Paul Fair, who very diligent about the way he goes his work within the area. And I think it's quite fair to say that a lot of items or a lot of things could come before this board that doesn't because of the proactive work that goes on behind the scenes, sometimes with in partnership with Police Scotland, but a lot of the stuff that goes on within your licence department. So from myself to the licensing team at Clackmannanshire Council, I just want to say thanks for their support that I get over the year. And I think at this point I can hand over to Chief Inspector Smith, who can summarise the report that was produced by us. Thanks.
Thanks, Davey. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Yeah, thanks very much for having me this morning. So I was appointed local area commander back in September, having worked in Forth Valley now for a couple of years. So it's nice to meet you all. Delighted to be the LAC for Clackmannanshire. And I just want to echo Davey's points there and his thanks. I think the activity from the board, from licence holders, from the licence team, from staff within the premises, it all contributes to keeping the residents and visitors of Clackmannanshire safe. And that's key and pertinent here. I think in terms of the report, it's a really positive report, and I've compared it to those from the figures and the report from last year. It's fairly consistent, and it is a positive read. So as you're aware, the licensed premises within Clackmannanshire are managed and supported by ourselves here at Alloa. And again, there's that consistent approach, as David mentioned there, about early interventions and prevention, which is key here. Going through the report, there are 134 premises and we've completed just over 2,011 proactive visits. And that's a significant increase from previous years, and that's a real positive. That is officers attending, providing support and guidance to licence holders, checking the premises and providing that reassurance for patrons within. So it's a really positive step, and we will try to maintain that as we move forward. Moving further on to the monitoring and interventions, again, a really positive story that during the reporting period there was no premises that had to be monitored, and there was no premises that were subject to any intervention agreements and activity. In terms of partnership working, as David mentioned, there is a strong bond and collaborative working across the local authority, and it's only with the cooperation of licence holders, staff and the board that we can continue that. As I say, that will continue as we move forward. In terms of exclusion orders and closure orders, again, I'm delighted to say that there's no applications for closure orders to any premises within Clackmannanshire, and there was no emergency closures due to any criminality. So really positive steps. The licensing forum, as was recorded in the papers, it's not currently re-established yet, and hopefully that will move forward at some point in the near future. In terms of applications for licences, again, it's a really positive read that there have been no objections to any applications during the reporting period, and similarly, there's been no reported breaches of persons selling without a licence or selling alcohol out with licensed hours. In terms of preventing the sale and supply of alcohol to children, so as part of the ongoing work of education with kids in the schools using their school-based officers, we obviously have kind of proactive visits to these premises as well, along with some national campaigns such as the It'll Cost You campaign. So that's the proxy purchase campaign, whereby premises are visited and educated, and where enforcement is taken. Again, it's a really positive read. We have had one conviction for the designated premises manager convicted of selling alcohol to a child. That was up in Alvin. I think it's already been to the board before, so I think that's kind of acknowledged around the room. I suppose, as I say, for me, it kind of inheriting now the local area commander, I can see it's been a really positive period. We have really good engagements with the premises throughout Clackmannanshire, and that's with the support of Davy and the divisional licensing team that we've built up those relationships with Paul and others throughout the Forth Valley division. So we will continue the work ahead. Key part for me is that collaboration and making sure that we're listening to concerns of our public and reacting to those, as well as concerns from our licensed premises, and supporting them where we can. I think the figures on the back, and Davey will maybe talk you through some of them if required, but in terms of the disorder and types of criminality that we're experiencing in licensed premises, when you compare that across the other premises and private public spaces, it's very small. However, we do have very high detection rates, and that's partially because of the support that we're getting from licence holders and staff members, providing CCTV readily when officers attend, XIA approved stewards stepping in to prevent criminality as well. So it is real positive within Clackmannanshire. Just moving ahead, we're obviously coming into the festive period now where we anticipate more footfall and more visitors to the premises throughout the local authority. So we have an Operation Christmas that will be stepping in, and that's further high visibility patrols during the festive period, and that will obviously supplement the festive drink driving campaign as well, which is key to licensed premises as well. Encourage reporting for any types of criminality. So in the whole, for me, it's been a really impressive and positive period of reporting. And Davey, I'll hand back to yourself if there's anything I've kind of missed. Thank you, Chair, for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any questions for the Chief Inspector? I'm sorry, I forgot the name.
Sorry, Chair, it's Gary Smith.
Yeah, my apologies. Are there any questions for Chief Inspector Smith?
Can I come in?
Yes, please.
Thanks. Thanks for the report, and it's good to see. Obviously, you've got a really good working relationship with our licensing team. I was just wondering. Obviously, we had the incident in Alpha that was dealt with, and the premises closed. There has been, I know, in the health food, some significant issues with young people and its social behaviour. And I think, and I've known, I've seen kids with alcohol. And I just wondered, are we doing anything kind of proactive that when we are getting those calls to then go to the kind of local premises to see if we could see the CCTV to see if, you know, either they're purchasing it or they're getting, you know, it bought by an over 18. I just wondered if you've got any kind of comment.
No, it's a good point, and to be honest, we'll respond to all instances of disorder and criminality. where there's an opportunity to detect crimes, then I would expect my officers to take that opportunity to go and visit. If, for example, it's very nearby and there's a potential link to the premises, then absolutely we should be going in and doing a licensed premises visit. That becomes difficult when it's in public parks and there's no indication that it's that actual premises. It could be bought from wherever or supplied from home addresses or wherever. So where there's opportunity to link it to an address, then I would expect officers to follow that line of inquiry. But I would encourage members of the public to report in youth disorder, because we can't respond to it if we don't know where it's happening. And as we reported in the scrutiny board, the youth disorder seems to be sort of reducing in Clackmannanshire, but that's not to say it's not happening. It's just the reports to the police are not happening. So as and when there are activities like that, I would encourage people to phone in, and similarly to licence holders as well, where they are getting hassle from youths, phone in so we can come and respond and deal with it appropriately.
And would that also be, because I know obviously you guys are really stretched, so it's hard to kind of respond and be there every time. And I tell constituents this all the time, that they should be using either 101 or the form on the website in order to be able to let you guys know when there is, so you can then pick up a pattern and then be able to deploy resources through that information. Is there any better way for us to kind of share that, or when you guys do that and use that information and are able to kind of tackle that, are you putting out any kind of social media releases to say that you've used that information in order to tackle that? Because I think sometimes that's it, that people don't do it because they don't feel it's acted upon, and it might be that it is acted upon, they just can't see it.
So where there's opportunities to kind of circulate good news stories, then we'll obviously take that in terms of Police Scotland. Unfortunately, I can't speak because I've only been here for a couple of months, so I can't kind of comment on what's gone in the past. However, where there are opportunities to tackle criminality, where people are reporting it, absolutely phone 101 or report through the online portal or even email directly to our community teams. Every call that comes into Police Scotland will be assessed for threat, risk and harm. So if there is no immediate danger, no immediate risk to anyone, it can be classified as a lower risk, so may not get responded to there and then. However, the type of criminality you're talking about, then it allows us to understand the patterns and then put some plans in place from a community-led approach, building intelligence and then tackling the issue within the community. So afterwards, I can maybe share the email address as well. From here, you can share with constituents as well to contact directly into a community team.
And then just also, I see that there's, 3 people where caught drinking alcohol in public. I know that's really incredibly hard to kind of detect, because you've got to see them literally consuming it and whatnot. So I just think for the public as well, especially, I think it's been raised before in other kind of boards that might be audience scrutiny and whatnot, especially about the kind of Shilling Hill area, that people are really surprised. I mean, I have seen police officers myself when I've been out there being proactive, going up and speaking to people who might necessarily not be drinking alcohol, but they've seen them as vulnerable and trying to build up that relationship. So I'm just kind of more kind of how are we best to make people feel more safe in that area, because people are concerned, and I know they put comments in social media and they're not always completely 100% accurate, or just might see a tiny clip of the day and whatnot, which doesn't really reflect as how it is. But is there anything like you can do or we can do? Is like, obviously we've got different like strive and whatnot in the council to help out in these kind of situations. Is there any more we can do, basically?
In terms of tackling vulnerability or in terms of criminality, I'm not sure it's been a kind of question.
Yeah, kind of, and I think both kind of thing, because I think people think it's both. There's obviously vulnerable people who will be more susceptible to either being victims or falling into criminality themselves, and I think the worry is that they could be sitting there drinking out, and then obviously people walking by will get don't want to walk by because they're scared, or and it then puts everybody in a vulnerable situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think from ourselves, it's back to that intelligence-led policing. So if we know there's a problem in an area, then we can tackle it. So again, encouraging people to report, concerns into ourselves so that we can deploy high visibility patrols and try and prevent people from sitting about. In terms of the vulnerability, then absolutely strive, but that's a slightly different approach. That's looking at more a health side of it, if you like, and making sure there's sufficient support for people with vulnerabilities. So as and when police officers come across people in the community who are vulnerable, we will then put in place measures. So we would raise a vulnerable person log that would then be shared with partners, and that might encourage conversations round about, and community support and different things that could be to assist. But I think what we're getting at here is that high visibility patrol. It's that public reassurance. It's making sure that police are seen in an area. So for us to do that, then with threat, risk and harm and dot and call, we need to know where our troublesome areas are, and then we can obviously deploy our community officers. But every within Clackmannanshire has got nominated community officers who will be there, who will engage with the public, and if it is public reassurance, then they can go and chat some doors and just make people feel that wee bit more safe in their communities. Ultimately, I want everyone to be safe in Clackmannanshire, so absolutely, we can, we will certainly do that and provide a higher visibility patrol. Okay.
Okay.
Can I perhaps add to some of the stuff that Police Scotland have mentioned, particularly your concerns that you've raised about the health routes? The information coming in about issues in the health routes is coming to me as well, which I share with Police Scotland, and I've also actively been involved in some collaborative and joint visits to premises that are under suspicion of doing things not quite right in the health routes area, which has resulted in at least one case of quite a significant intervention. Not what the police would call an intervention, not the way that they log them, but an intervention from my side, which resulted in enforcement action. Unfortunately, I can't go into too much detail specifically about what's going on there, because there may well be a criminal case in the background as well, resulting from that inquiry. So I can offer you reassurance that when information is coming, it's coming to the police, it's coming to us, it's coming in through other council departments, and it's ultimately being targeted, appropriately to the premises that are being mentioned as perhaps being the source of youth alcohol disorder, and these premises are being visited. There's discussions with management and a level of management above the guys working in the store. It's things like that are franchises and chains and stuff like that. I've got access into the next level of control and speaking to them. They're all certainly taking it on the face of it very seriously, and changes are happening. You made mention of the bylaws as well, the difficulty in terms of the bylaws of the police having to see somebody consuming alcohol. We're actively, although there's been a delay on it, but we are actively looking at reviewing the bylaws. We've got to do that anyway by statute, and that review process, I'm fairly certain we're going to seek permission from Scottish Government and the Scottish Ministers to change the terms of the bylaw to include there's 4 separate offences that are available in the bylaws. One of them includes an offence where being in possession of alcohol in circumstances where it is assumed, or it can be reasonably assumed, that you intend to drink it in a public place. So it's a slightly different version of the current bylaw that we have, that is a bylaw that says consuming alcohol in a public place is an offence. We're looking to amend that slightly, and that's part of, again, a piece of collaborative working with Police Scotland, who quite rightly suggested that would improve their ability to enforce the legislation in terms of open containers of alcohol being in possession of those sitting at Shilling Hill in particular, or is the area where we're all concerned about. They would no longer need to actually physically see them drinking, because all they do is they lay the bottle down when the police drive by. We know this, but their mere possession of it in circumstances where it can be reasonably assumed that they're going to consume it is what we're hoping that Scottish ministers will approve, and we can justify that request for the change based on the information that that you're sharing today, that is a recognised concern and that Police Scotland have shared. So hopefully that sets your mind at rest as well, particularly in relation to the collaborative working. I think I've got a very good relationship with Police Scotland at the moment, and I'm grateful for Sergeant Bellingham and Gary Smith acknowledging that today, and hopefully that will continue throughout.
Okay, Donald?
Yeah, thank you. In your report, you've got one case of sale of alcohol from a non-licensed premises, and indeed a sale of alcohol from a vehicle. Is that the same case, or what can you tell us about this case?
It was the same case. It's currently running through the justice system now, so obviously because of that, it's limited what I can disclose. But suffice to say, I think there was collaborative working involved in that, and also some good work by the local officers in order to detect what was going on and submit the appropriate report to the Crown Office. And it's going through as you know, with the justice system, it can be quite a lengthy process.
Is that the same kind of issue that Paul was referring to then? Is that one of the works? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? No. Oh, Sergeant Bellingham, Gary, I think it's a tremendous report, and it's really good to see the very small figures that are there. I wish they were smaller and that we had no problems, but we live in the real world. I'm glad to hear Paul talking about the bylaws, because that, if we get that bylaw changed, then yes, it certainly will assist not only the board, but certainly assist the police in prosecuting people who are just doing it willy-nilly. And we all see it. So I'm really hoping that that goes forward. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Gary and David. I know it's early, but we're not going to see each other before Christmas, I hope. So I wish you all you, Gary, and your colleagues a safe and Merry Christmas. I'm going to move that we accept this report. I think it's tremendous. I think it's some really good stuff, and that we can look forward to the future. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'm happy to second, Chair.
Thank you, Donald. Are we all in favour of that paper? Please indicate. Yep, that's unanimous. Gary, David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and Merry Christmas to yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Yep, we'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is application for operating plan attached. It's just a major, it's a non-minor variation for Tesco. Sean? Sean, is it Sean or Dale that's going to introduce us?
Yep, Chair, Sean's just going to introduce us. Do you want to start again, Sean?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Kenny, I don't know if you could hear me there. So today we have Miss Hardish Purewell in attendance on behalf of Tesco. This application today is a non-minor variation. You will find in the agenda the application form, an operating plan, the police response, and a report from the LSO. You'll also find in front of you today an amendment to the report, which Paul will discuss, and that's in relation to Appendix A. And I'll just hand over to Paul now to run through his report.
Paul?
Yes, good morning, Chair, members of the board. I have obviously submitted as normal the representation in relation to the non-minor variation, which seeks to make certain amendments to the layout plan, the alcohol display area, and to update the operating plan to reflect the way the business will operate in the future. As you can see, I've raised no concerns in the report, and I don't intend to go over it in any great detail, other than to say that I've been in discussion with Hardish Purwell in relation to the licence conditions, and you may recall that previously, the other Tesco's that we recently considered saw very slight changes to the terms of the proposed conditions to allow for the way that their particular business operates. I've got no concerns about the changes that we offered up and agreed in relation to the Tesco Extra store at Tillicootery, and these are very similar amendments which I have committed to writing and reached agreement with Hardish in relation to them, and I would propose that my report is as read, but with the amendment to Appendix A, which relates to the conditions, to replace that with the submission I made early this morning and late last night with the new version of the conditions. I don't have anything else unless there's any particular questions. I would add that Tesco's are obviously a very well-known retailer that take the sale of alcohol and the delivery of alcohol very seriously. No doubt because of their position on the RASG group that they fully understand the risks involved in home delivery of alcohol, and that they take all responsibilities, including the engagement with their delivery operatives, that they engage very, very seriously, and I have no concerns.
Thank you, Paul. Excuse me. Ms Patel.
Good morning, councillors, and good morning, Chair. Just by way of introduction, I've been with Tesco's for 33 years and head up marketing for Tesco's One Stop and Booker within the legal team. So my role includes everything from making sure that all 280,000 members of our teams are trained in age-restricted sales, as well as making sure anything to do with licensing, all the compliance is in place and adhered to. As Mr. Fair very nicely pointed out, I chair a retail alcohol standards group, so I don't just look at how we sell alcohol responsibly within Tesco, but also within the industry to kind of raise the standards of the industry. I also sit as a board director for community alcohol partnerships and work closely with government bodies on policy and look at kind of building excellent relationships through partnership working. This is an application to amend our operating plan. Everything else will stay the same. The DPM will remain as Heather Fraser. You all know Tesco very well, so I won't talk very much about Tesco, but more so about the rapid delivery operation that's coming in. We have been operating the service since May 2021 as a business, and we are in 1,500 shops across the UK, 80 of which are in Scotland. It's the fastest growing part of our business. So how it works is you order your shopping through the Tesco app. You need a club card to be able to use this. The shopping is picked in store and it's collected by a driver and then taken to the home address. The driver is told that the order contains alcohol. They can refuse to take that order on if they want to. So they can opt out of delivering alcohol beforehand, or they can opt out at the point of before they take that order. We work with a business called Stuart and Uber Eats, and Stuart have been working with us since, or operating since 2015 in the UK. The delivery is made within 60 minutes of an order being placed, and the drivers have their training. I've seen the training and vetoed it, but before we onboarded any suppliers, I reviewed their training and made sure that it was up to Tesco how I would want our delivery drivers delivering at the doorstep. So it's as robust as what we have in Tesco. And they do all the Think 25 training before they start, and have refresher training as well. They operate Think 25 at the doorstep, and there's a reminder on their mobile device to enter a date of birth. And they're also trained to check that, to make sure that we're not delivering to somebody who is drunk, and also to be aware of like any proxy sales. If there's, for example, a party going on within the home, the goods are brought back to the store if the customer can't prove they're over 18, or there's a belief that we shouldn't deliver that alcohol. Same IDs that we accept in store are acceptable at the doorstep. And I'm happy to agree the conditions that Paul's kind of put through. It's kind of a bit of a whistle stop. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Patel. Members, do we have any questions for either Paul or Ms. Patel? I know that Paul's just left the room. Oh, no, he's back. Yep. Okay. Do we have any?
I was just going to
Yeah.
post
Yep,
with
carry on.
obviously the draft conditions on Appendix A.
I'm
Can you
sorry,
hear me?
it's actually frozen now. Can you say that
I'm
again?
just saying I'm happy to post it with the Appendix A conditions.
Okay, thank you. I take it that's moved as an acceptance of the paper, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Can we have a seconder?
Yeah,
Since there are no questions.
Yeah, happy
Okay.
to second.
Thank you. Yeah, I've read the paper. I've seen the conditions that come in there this morning, and believe me, if there was a problem at the Tesco end, I would know about it because my wife was very vocal about it. So absolutely, I understand that the Tesco have a challenge 25 policy, and that I'm glad to hear that the delivery of alcohol to houses is going to be subject to various questions from the delivery agent, as an i.e. the age of the person, verifying if the person is drunk, verifying if the person is over 25. So I'm glad to hear that, and yeah, I'm happy to agree as well. And I'd just like to take this opportunity, Ms. Patel, to wish you a very Merry Christmas, and your colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Okay. We're just going to move on to the second item. Let's bring it back up. And this is for variation of premises license for Menteith Court Mini Market. Do we have anybody representing the Menteith Court Mini Market?
Chair, I'm happy to come in there and just introduce the item, and I'll run through that as well. So this application is a non-minor variation. As before, you will see that there's an application for operating plan, a response from Police Scotland, and a representation from the LSO. You'll also see in front of you today that there is a written submission from the applicant. They are unfortunately unable to attend the board meeting today, and they've submitted a response in writing, which should be in front of everyone. I'll just hand over again to Paul just to go through his report.
Paul?
Yes, good morning. I've also had the opportunity to read the written submission. There's nothing in it causes any difficulty. So I'll just very quickly say that the application, the key feature of the application is to add the addition of home delivery of alcohol. As we now know that that's a very emerging market in the area, and there's now significantly more off-sales premises that are offering home delivery than those that are not. And I expect that that trend will continue to increase. And as I've always said from the outset of the home delivery, starting during the COVID times, that home delivery is a high-risk activity and requires to be managed by carefully applying conditions to the licence that are necessary and expedient for the purposes of the licensing objectives. The conditions in Appendix A that are proposed in relation to this premises are almost a direct lift from our own statement of licensing policy conditions, which cover all aspects of home delivery, and the applicant himself, Mr. Ali, has no concerns and in fact openly agrees that these conditions are necessary and that he is more than happy to comply with those conditions during his delivery processes. I have no concerns whatsoever about the application nor Mr. Ali's ability to manage these conditions.
One of the other variations, Paul, was to play background music in the shop.
I deliberately didn't even think that was worth mentioning. Most licensed grocers have some form of background music in the shop, and quite often they haven't indicated that on their operating plan. But I can't imagine the board would be terribly happy if I came here on an enforcement matter that related to Christmas tunes being played in any of our supermarkets without consent.
Okay, thank you for that.
Can I come in?
Yes, yeah, I was reading the conditions.
All right, okay. I was just going to say that I was happy to propose the conditions put out in Appendix A, as I'm assured that the licensed officers are assured that it's all fine, just same with the previous application. So I'm quite happy for it to be to go ahead with the conditions on Appendix A.
Yep.
So happy to propose.
I'm well aware of this market, and I know how well run it is. So yeah, I've been down there. I've seen that shop, and I'm quite happy to second this application. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, are we agreed? Are we all agreed on this application?
Agreed, Kenny? Chair.
Yep. Donald?
Yes, agreed.
Okay. That's agreed. Yep. Well, thank you very much for your time this morning. Once again, I apologise for not being there, but it was unavoidable. But thank you very much for your time. And if I don't see you before it, the same message goes on to you. Wish you all a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
You too, Kenny.